I would like you to have a little read at the comment section under my latest video, and it's from Fire Nation 3236, and he asks, what advice do you have for students that have become overly reliant on LLMs and are trying to break out of that? Is the right approach going back to the absolute basics and starting over? Well, I would say if you had the absolute basics correct and right, then you wouldn't be overly reliant on LLMs. So you would have to start at all, I would say. And this is a perfect segue to show you how someone who's not reliant on LLMs uses them to actually get better and improve the overall value of the results that I produce for the team and for my clients. So let's jump in. At first, I would like to show you how to not use LLMs, so just we're on the same page, okay? So this is some unit test somewhere in some project that we have. Whatever. The name of the test is this, and now I'm asking it just to generate some stuff. I need another test similar to this method right here, right next to it. And now I send it. And then I wait for the thing to do its magic. And this time I'm just waiting. I've no brain activity right here. It's not like I'm going to read this shit. And now we have, no. Let's do. It says keep or undo. And keep or undo, but there's nothing to keep. The fuck, man? Let's say keep. I don't know if it did anything. No, it didn't do anything. Let's try one more time. So now it seems like it did something. I have something. I don't know. Like this is bad anyways. This is just bad. Just don't use it like this. The other way to not use it is by auto-completion right into code. So if I go write another comment, you see mapping itself is done. This is coming from the LLM. It seems like it's right. I don't know. I have to understand the rest of the other tests there is. I have to understand the context and everything to verify if it's right. And most of the times this is just not happening. And so I just say, yeah, looks good, whatever. And the other brain rot way to do it is to use AI is, if I say, I just start typing a for loop, and then it's auto-completing it for me again. And then it's trying to guess based on the context that I want to have a, for some reason it thinks I want to have a, maybe because of the comment above, some nonsense. Some nonsense. Number one, this is not what I want to type. Number two is, if you bring your brain into the constant state of looks good, keep, looks good, keep, looks good, top, keep. This is how you make your IQ drop by 2 points every hour you use the stuff. It's just bad. Just do not use it this way. So this thing right here, having AI agent, the agentic way, is not the way to use LLMs. This is trash. And just to give you some science, right, there's a study from 1956 that goes by the name, the magical number 7 plus or minus 2, some limits on our capacity for processing information. This study says that the human mind can only hold so many pieces of information at the same time. So for the average person, it might be 5, 6 or something pieces of information at the same time that you can hold in your mind. And you can test yourself by trying to memorize a number that has 5 digits, 6 digits, 7, so on and so forth. You see how hard that is. That is your current limit on your current capacity for processing information. And if your brain's operating on borderline autism level, it might be even 8 or 9 or something, but there is limits to that. The good thing is you can train yourself. To a degree, you can train yourself on increasing this capacity. And you do so by actual software development, right? When you're coding, you have to have so many things about the context that you're coding in mind. And this will lead to a stronger brain over time just by doing your job as a programmer. Now, when you autocomplete, it's working in the exact opposite direction. When you autocomplete, and I go back, when you just what was my password again? So when you're back in the code and you look at something that looks okay and you just hit keep, the piece of information that is on your mind in that moment is, does it look good, yes or no? So you're actively training yourself that the only amount of information that you need to hold in your brain is just 1. This is bad. That is why I say your IQ is dropping in real time when you use LLMs in this way, in the agentic way, integrated in your IDE, auto-completing stuff for you. Now, How can we use LLMs to not rot our brain, but actually extend our thinking and making the results that we produce for our clients and colleagues and anyone who works with us even better? First example I'm going to look at is the "that looks strange" moment that you have when you look at code that is not yours and you don't understand the code right away. It looks strange to you somehow. And the question is, does the code look strange because it is strange, meaning it's garbage, it shouldn't belong there, it should be written in other ways, or might it be a skill issue on your side? And first we're going to have a look at the code. So what looks strange to me is that number one is we have this configuration object right here, which seems to mimic some I configuration, and that is something I wouldn't do in unit tests. So that's strange, number one. And the second thing that is strange to me is this method right here, the get private instance method. Because what this does is it's using reflection so we can test private methods in the actual class that we're testing. So this looks strange to me too. I know there's other ways to do this. I wouldn't do it this way. So now I have this typical moment where I say, that looks strange, skill issue on my side, or is the code just garbage? In order to find out, I scroll down and I just go and take the class, right? The class we want to actually test against. And if I scroll down in the class that you see, it's about those methods right here. Those are private, and those are the new ones in the PR, the ones who the unit tests are for. And then you see it's is logged resource, and then you see it's going deeper to the matches regex pattern to this method right here, and they're all private. And now the question is, how do I test this? Now, I have a little bit of experience, and I would say first impulse, private in this case, is wrong. We should make it protected, maybe even public, have it outsourced into a separate helper class, something like that. The other thing I would do is I would get rid of this one. Right, when I look for this thing, then I see it's a property in the base class, and this makes testing even harder because of this property. You need to pass in this configuration object in every test that you write, because this property right here is assigned every time you have a new object. Right, every time you go into the constructor, we assign this property, and therefore, of course, in the unit tests, we need to call the constructor in every test that we write, right? Right away, I would say that's bad. Anyways, it's just some raw feelings that I have right now. To know for sure, I copy the code. Actually, I don't even have to do this. I go to Jibity. Boom. And this is a real conversation I had with ChatGPT about this. And you see, so this is my class. And it's the class I just copied. This class we want to test against. And I ask it, as you see, I have private methods here. What is the best way to unit test them, right? As if I didn't know. And then I say doopty-doopty-doopty-doo, and there's a recommended approaches. Approach 1, 2, 3, 4. And this one is interesting because it says reflection-based testing, not recommended. It's exactly what we have when I go back. This one right here is reflection-based testing. So Jibity highly advises us against this, and I agree. And just to make sure, I go back to Jibity and I say, okay, reflection-based testing, referring to this one. So something like this, putting in the testing code that I just showed you, that would be nonsensical, right? And Jibity says, okay, correct, this test is nonsensical in terms of unit test value, even though it is technically valid. Why it is a bad test? And now what I do is I just copy this one, mark this one, copy this one, and then paste this in the PR as a comment. So now I see, okay, my instinct was correct, and I would now go ahead and say, okay, what does Jibity suggest? And it gives me the correct test right here. This one will not build. I tried already, will not build, doesn't matter. I already know what to do. I would go ahead and make the private methods, those ones right here, make them protected instead of private, test them directly and pass in not the property log pattern, whatever, but pass this one as a value into the method signature. So I can pass in the regular exception directly and have a way easier testing. So I don't have to do the, so I don't have to do this one anymore, right? I don't have to do the create configuration thing anymore. And then I would discuss this with the team, and maybe they have even better ideas on how to do that. And yeah, that would be example number 1. That looks strange. Example number 2 is explain this, where we clearly have a skill issue on my side. It's something you find something that you just don't understand, or that's a concept that you're not familiar with, and I have prepared an example of this as well. Open this one, and we'll scroll up. It is also a real conversation, and it's just really stupid prompt. You are an expert in C#, explain this code. And just let it give me everything it thinks about the code. And then at some point, I find this async local thing right here. And I ask him at some point, async local, I still don't understand this one. What's the difference to simply use the type directly? So I ask a more specific question about a more specific part about some line that I don't understand. Go further. That explained to me, doopty-doopty-doopty-doopty-doo. Gives a real world example. This one doesn't work either. Never mind. And then do some research and say async local. Maybe does this thing even exist in the C# context? Okay, this is something that seems to be existing, and read the official documentation. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, this is how it's used. This seems to have something to do with threads. I go back and I say, okay, now that I have more understanding of that thing, I ask a more deeper question, see what it gives me. Again, double check this one in the actual documentation. Maybe I find something on Stack Overflow even, or maybe some tutorial. Maybe someone has written something about this already. And at some point, I would just have to try it out, right? I have a little console. I would try this one in, right? And once it's a web API and once it's a console, where I try the stuff that I just think I found out, try it out. So I use AI here as a rough guidance on how I can explore this new concept. Next thing you find in the document is that besides that section, right? So I have 3 topics right here. I have the answers are in the code. So you are most likely, especially if you're junior, not the first person on the planet who's facing this particular problem. So there is a 99.99% chance somewhere there's already a solution for whatever you're trying to solve already. Like this async local kind of thing, right? Therefore, read the code, ask your coworkers, this is the problem, do we solve this somewhere already in some of the projects that we have, whatever, right? Most likely they will say yes, or they say, we don't do it, there's a library for that already actually. And then you just use the NuGet package, whatever it is. All right, the second thing, very important, third thing, write unit tests. Write unit tests. This is the best way to find out how stuff works on the project that you're in, because it forces you to explore the code and forces you to understand how things are working and what test values actually make sense, right? And it forces you to, now you have to, again, ask your colleagues, ask the business side, the test values, we have test input and output that we have in this unit test that I've written. Does this make sense? If yes, cool. If not, why does it not make sense? And how do we make it better, right? No one is cutting off your fingers for writing too many unit tests, okay? So unit test, the best way to jump in and explore the code. The other thing is everyone new is a junior. This is true for me as well, for anyone else. If you have 25 years of experience, if you join a new team or get a new client, you are a junior, because number one is the technology. And there's the proper way to use the technology, right? And number two is the way the technology is actually used in the infrastructure of your client. This is two completely different things, right? You have, especially when you come from university, you learn that there's best practices and Gang of Four and design patterns and all of this. And then you see that none of this is actually used in reality. I mean, it is used somehow, but no one is going ahead and saying, okay, this is how to implement the decorator pattern perfectly. You will find variations of patterns, and your job is to find out how your client or how your boss or whoever it is uses those patterns, okay? Next thing is obvious, do your homework. Constant learning. This is never, like, if you're in software development, it doesn't matter how many ages of experience you have to learn. You have to learn constantly, all the time. Things are changing, frameworks are changing. There's always, every day, there's better ways to do things. And this just doesn't stop, right? So do your homework, master tools, right? Key combinations, shortcuts, most frequent design patterns, CLI. I have an extra playlist on how to master CLI essentials. Go check this out. And read the docs, right? For example, Azure Service Bus, there's a beautiful, beautiful documentation on this that has samples for different programming languages. I'm a .NET programmer, so I go for those samples. And then you have kind of a cookbook kind of style samples that you can use and learn from right away, right? And then you have to, for example, like, what is that? Sending, receiving messages, the basics, right? And you see, this is how this would look like, and then you can see how this is actually used in your code. You can go ahead and say, send message agent, do we use this somewhere? And if so, do we use it correctly? And then it might bring you back to the, this is strange moment, because you might find out that your team is using this method right here somehow, but not in the way you find in the docs. So now we have to have a conversation, I believe. So yeah, that is basically it. Constant learning, master the tools, read the docs, and do this and rinse and repeat. And then yeah, this is how I would use AI at the workplace. So I hope that gives you some idea on how I, as a little bit more, I hate these sentences. I hate this. I am a little bit more experienced developer. This is how I use LLMs. I hope I gave you a little bit of insight on how this can work. And just to recap, use LLMs, but use them as an analytical tool to give you direction and inspiration on how to explore your profession even better, right? Familiarize yourself, get aware of new concepts, explore those new concepts, write a little console or web app or whatever where you try out things, then discuss these concepts with your colleagues or with whoever is mentoring you, if you have a mentor, and then still in the end, do the implementation of that thing yourself. And I'm going to promise you, if you do it this way, this will increase your value as a team member or as an employee or as someone who's producing any kinds of results with every line of code you write. You will get better and more valuable with every line of code you write if you do it this way. If you use LLMs to auto-generate and autocomplete stuff for you, number one, you're getting dumber every day. It's just a fact. Number two is you're making yourself obsolete every day a little bit more, because you're getting just less and less aware of the overall code base and the context and the reason why certain decisions have been made. But you have less and less understanding of what's actually happening, and this makes you inherently less and less valuable and relevant. That being said, thank you so much for the support, the engagement, the thumbs up, the thumbs down, the comments, the suggestions, the inspiration. Thanks to all of you, really. Really enjoyed making videos so far, and really looking forward to 2026. And I wish all of you a great, fun, smooth transition into the next year, and see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.